Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, my ridiculous HOA neighbor Karen sued me for having a classic beautiful car on my property. When she didn't get what she wanted, she stole my car while I was away. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the story. Unlike a lot of these stories that I notice and in a lawsuit, this one is actually gonna start with one as well. Karen was a member of the HOA in my neighborhood and wanted to sue me because she claimed my car brought the overall value of the neighborhood down. For one thing, I'm not part of the HOA and that actually doesn't have anything to do with Karen. Aside from her and before she sued me, the HOA people all seemed nice and normal. I just did not feel like joining. They respected my decision and it was only Karen who was giving me issues about my car until she sued me for it. My car is a 1970s Plymouth Cuda in a beautiful red color. She was trying to sue me for like $100,000, claiming that I cost the neighborhood that much in housing because of my car dropping the prices all around. Clearly not paying any attention to the fact that all housing in the area was having issues during that time because of the general economy. Nothing happened with that case and it was thrown out before I even needed to go before a judge or anything like that. The single most anticlimactic lawsuit you might ever hear about. But of course I would not write a story just to tell the world about that. No, what I want to really dive into is what happened after. About 5 months after the lawsuit, I heard from Karen again, except this time she was actually apologizing to me for what she had done. She claimed that she was wrong and my car was actually really nice and wanted to make the whole thing up to me. She baked me cookies, offered to help me with housework and have her son mow my lawn for free, and most importantly wash my car for me. Before any of you start typing how I am insane in the comments for buying into what she said, I just want to say 2 things to defend myself. The first was that I didn't know how much of a Karen she was at the time. I want to think the best of people and that they can change and want to ask for forgiveness. The second thing is, I was not naive and I wasn't going to just leave her in my home alone or anything crazy. I did not think she would poison me with food or have her son intentionally destroy my lawn. Actually, her son was pretty good and I did insist on paying him for his work. He didn't have a dad unfortunately, but we seemed to bond a little bit and it was nice. After a couple of months of nothing going wrong, I started to let my guard down and really think that she wanted to be a good neighbor and also liked her son having a father figure in his life. What I didn't know was that when she was washing my car one day for me, she stole the spare key and I did not have a clue. She held onto it for a while, just waiting for the opportunity to present itself. Another 3 months passed and something happened that finally gave her the opening to make a move. I went on a boat with a couple of friends and there was a little bit of a problem involving a fishing hook. Since I don't want to add another entire story into this one, I will just say that it ended up getting infected and I was in the hospital for 2 weeks before I was cleared to be discharged. Maybe if you want to hear about that story, I will find another place to post it and explain what happened in more detail. So when I got home, my car was nowhere to be seen. I do have security cameras that were able to show Karen getting into the car and driving away. The video was dated over a week back, so she could not claim that she took it to clean it or some other lie. I went right to her house and started banging on the door until she opened it and demanded that she tell me what happened to the car. She started lying that she never touched it and she had no clue about anything. Remember me saying that I had built a good relationship with Karen's son? Well, he had no issue spilling the beans to me exactly what his mom did and how he told her not to do it 100 times. She had taken my car with the key she stole and then sold it to a man for a mere $5,000. She assumed that despite it being a classic car, it was old and that meant it could not be worth that much money. For reference, these cars get sold and traded for $350,000, which is exactly what I ended up suing her for. She started to yell at her son for telling me anything, but that was when I got really mad. I can keep my volume down and rage contained with almost anything. However, her yelling at her kid for telling me the truth was the line that brought out my full anger. I told her that her son was a saint compared to her, and if she was gonna scream and berate her son, I would have the cops at her house in a minute. This kid was only like 11 years old and knew that his mom did something wrong. Involving him in her scheme to get on my good side made me feel sick. I filed a lawsuit against Karen for the cost of my car and also had criminal charges pressed against her for stealing it. The police attempted to find my car, but the search never came up with anything, so her getting me the car back to try and fix some of this on her end was not gonna happen. She tried to argue in court that both my security cameras were wrong and that an 11-year-old did not know the difference between a truth and a lie. She even tried to make a plea where she could give me the $5,000 she got from the man who bought my car, claiming it was more than the car was actually worth and what I was asking for was insane. I had proof of what my car was worth and also proof that it was in good condition when she had stolen it. I was granted the full amount of $350K for what the car would have been worth. Trust me, I was not happy even with that because I would much rather have my car still with me. For the criminal charges, she pled guilty for the Grand Theft Auto, knowing that going to trial with that would not end well for her. At least this way the state would give her a deal and she would only spend a few years in prison. The last thing I want to address is her son, because I hate loose ends and I know other readers might too. In a perfect story or movie, I would have gotten her son and raised him right under my roof or something like that. This is reality though, and he was sent into foster care, I believe, and I don't know what will happen when his mom is out of jail. Either way, he seemed genuinely afraid of her when she was yelling, so maybe being away from her is best for him no matter what. While I don't ever want to see her again, I would not mind running into him one day to see the kind of person he turns into without her. And yeah, Ripe Stars, you can only hope that a kid like this won't come after his mom, meaning that he won't grow up to be like her. I really hope the best for OP and this kid. Unfortunately, there's not much hope that Karen will change after she is back from prison, but who knows, maybe even Karens can change. Either way, if you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like the video and maybe even leave a comment because that would help me tremendously. And the next one is titled Parking Revenge. So this story happened about 15 years ago, give or take. At the time, I worked for a small industrial railroad in my city that served about 20 different industries along the docks. To get to the docks from the yard where I would pick up the inbound deliveries to the industry's cars, we had a mile of street trackage that ran right down the middle of a small street. Numerous bars lined the street on one side with the river on the other side. Because of city regulations, we were only allowed to operate along that span of track between specific hours. Typically 11 at night to about 5 in the morning. However, since the bars were open at that time, it also meant that we had to trundle along at a crawl, usually walking pace or just about that, and thereby keep the locomotive on the front end of the movement. Every night I went down that street, there would typically be 2 or 3 people who had parked too close to the tracks, prompting me to have to get people to move their cars. It was not a major problem, just an annoyance, except for one guy. It seemed that every single night I would have to stop about halfway down because this guy would always park his truck at an angle in the street as opposed to parallel parking. There were some angle parking spaces, but they were further down where there wasn't rails in the road. Every single night I would have to head into the bar this guy owned and bug the guy to get him to move the truck. Most of the time, it would take him a good 30 minutes to an hour to drag himself out and move the thing. This meant, of course, that I was losing time that I needed to get my job done. After months of this, I finally decided that I had enough. So I decided to have the guy towed. Yeah. However, that did not work out as well as I hoped. It turned out that the guy also had some job with the city or the mayor's office or some friend in either. So basically, no one would dare to come out and tow his truck. I think I waited there a good hour before he eventually came out and moved it, even having the gal to flip me the bird as he left. At that point, I decided that not only was I totally done with the guy, but if the chance arose, I was gonna teach him a lesson he would not soon forget. Nothing physical per se, just a hard-learned lesson. Couple days later, I found myself heading down the track with half a dozen heavy cars with machinery bound for the docks. As I rounded the curve and neared the place where that guy always parked, I gently applied the independent brakes on the locomotive. This would slow the heavy train, but was not enough to stop it outright, at least not quickly. I waited until the very last minute, laying on the horn and applying the full brakes, bringing everything to a screeching halt in the middle of the street. As I felt the brakes begin to hold, there was this loud thunk and screeching and tearing of metal as the train simply punted the truck out of the way, tearing the bed clean off of it in the process. Of course, this did not go unnoticed as a crowd started to gather out front of the bar when they heard the train coming. I stay in the cab, calling back to dispatch and inform them that I had struck a parked car and they needed to get the police and a tow truck out to my location. All the while I could hear this guy screaming. I heard him over the sound of the locomotive no less, at the top of his lungs, about how he was gonna have me thrown in jail, sue the company and all manner of things. Locking the doors, I opted to just wait in the cab for the boys in blue to arrive. Eventually, they pop around and start taking statements. I explain the problems, noting that I couldn't, well, I could have, but it wouldn't have been a good idea, simply slam on the brakes due to the cargo I was carrying, and that the only reason I hit the truck was because it was improperly parked. I added that the gentleman had been warned in the past that something like this could happen and had ignored the warnings. The man, for his part, was simply livid, hopping around, yelling at me, yelling at the cops, and just beside himself. In the end, he was ticketed for his bad parking, obstructing the passage of a train, and his truck was totaled. And he ended up on the hook for paying for it. The truck was brand new and not yet paid off, or so I was told. It took about 2 hours to clean up the mess, and I was, per company rules, suspended for a week during the company investigation. But honestly, it was worth it. I did not have any problems with him from that point forward either. And yeah, Ripe Stars, I would say that is how you teach someone a lesson. OP is absolutely brilliant. Either way, the next one is a malicious compliance story. So I used to work at a regional airline. The jets we used for our flight to the big city had 6 business class seats. The business class service was really good for a 2-hour flight. It included a full bar service, a hot meal, warmed bread basket, followed by a trolley with dessert and signature coffee. The good old days, basically. One of our regular travelers was a local business owner who was just a slimy businessman, SB. He had a reputation for making a lot of money from some pretty shady deals over the years. We would roll our eyes when we saw him coming to the check-in counter because he would always name drop and ask for special treatment. He always used the business class check-in line even though he was usually in economy. He did not have frequent flyer status, but he was buddies with one of the airline executives and always let us know this fact when he checked in by making sure to tell us that he was good friends with Vice President Karen. He would always ask for free upgrades, extra baggage, not charging a change fee, last-minute discounts, etc. If he didn't get what he wanted, he immediately called VP Karen, who would usually then call us and approve whatever it was he wanted. So one day SB checks in for his flight to the big city and of course name drops and asks for a free upgrade to business class because I am friends with VP Karen and said it would be okay. He was traveling on a discounted ticket that was not eligible for upgrades even if he did have an upgrade coupon, which he didn't. I informed him that he was not eligible for any upgrade on his ticket and gave him his boarding pass and sent him on his way. Of course, he flips open his cell phone and immediately calls VP Karen. Within 2 minutes, the phone at the check-in desk rings and it's VP Karen authorizing me to override the policy to upgrade SB to business class with no upgrade coupon required if there's room. And well, the flight that day was not that busy and only one person booked in business class, leaving 5 open seats. I was really irritated, but I begrudgingly put SB on the upgrade list anyway. He returned to the check-in counter and picked up his standby boarding card and gave me that smug "told you so" look. But then what VP Karen said clicked with me. She said, "if there's room." The next passenger I checked in was a super nice lady, big smile, friendly, please and thank you, oh thank you so much for checking my bags to my connecting flight, that's so nice of you, etc. Well, I was taking my time and we were chatting a bit since it wasn't that busy. She said she was a teacher going on a trip to see her family and it was her first visit with them in over a year and was gonna meet her new little nephew for the first time. She was overjoyed just to have the time off to travel. I typed in a few things into the computer to make it look like I was checking something about her connecting flights and then said, "Oh, you've been selected today to receive a free upgrade to business class." She was shocked. "I've never flown business class in my life. This is so amazing." At that time, we were rarely questioned if we upgraded someone without a certificate. Over the next 20 minutes, I found excuses to upgrade 4 other passengers, one who worked for one of our top corporate accounts, one who was legitimately a frequent flyer, cannot remember the other reasons, but by the time I went to board the flight, I had to tell SB that I was sorry but business class was full and could not offer him an upgrade today. The teacher I upgraded profusely thanked me again when she boarded with the rest of the business class passengers. Little did she know that it really made my day as well. Update: there were no repercussions to my actions. We rarely upgraded passengers randomly, so it was not something that caught the management's attention and they mostly trust our judgment on these things. But like many customer service jobs, I'm sure if you were nice to us, we would go out of our way to help you. If you were not nice to us, we would apply the rules very strictly. Our boss did watch baggage like a hawk though. If you printed more bag tags than the passenger allowance without collecting the excess fee, it showed on your daily report and you would be asked about it at the start of your next shift. And the next one is an Am I the A-hole story. So I, 26 female, like to go for a run in the morning before I go to work. I usually set out around 5 AM, so I can make sure to get at least 5 miles in at a time before having to get ready for work. Well, depending on the time of year, I'm either running around sunrise or wrap up before, which means that people in the neighborhood have those security lights that pop up if you're in the area. Well, people started complaining about their lights being triggered and their dogs flipping out at early times, and people on their stupid doorbell cameras will look at people going by, and several people posted videos of me running by. I am identifiable because I have a headlamp and flashers to make sure cars see me. This was on that Nextdoor app, so I chimed in to say hey, sorry about that, and got dogpiled by people telling me to change up my route or have more respect. Some people told me to go to a gym, why don't I run in the afternoon or evening, etc. I told them I had no way of remembering whose house has what lights or what dogs, and that it's just something we all have to deal with. I'm not going around complaining about the sprinklers that come on and drench me because they are not calibrated right. And then said that I love to run in the morning because it makes me feel good through the day, to which someone said, yeah, try getting woken up by some smartass who won't be neighborly enough to just go to the gym. Anyway, I've gotten some really nasty notes and people keep posting videos of me and comments saying that I should really get a gym membership, and other people calling me rude because the dog barks and wakes up the baby or something. I don't enjoy running on a treadmill. Never have and never will. Besides, why pay out the rear to be leered at and hit on by gross dudes when I can run in the darkness and watch the sun rise? Seems like a no-brainer, right? My best friend has suggested I just head out later, but I won't have enough time for the rest of my routine then, which is shower, breakfast, etc. if I do that. And yeah, Ripe Stars, do you think that OP is acting not neighborly here and is potentially the a-hole? Let us know in the comments. Comment number 1 on Reddit said, not the a-hole, they brought the motion sensor lights, didn't calibrate them correctly, and they bought the dog. Let him bark when he hears any damn thing. Also, then they get mad at you for existing at 5 AM. Unless you're doing something to intentionally set these things off, you are just fine. Maybe these neighbors need a crate or a white noise machine. Comment number 2, not the a-hole, their lights would flash on and their dogs would bark if it was a car, a newbie cyclist or a rabbit/homeless cat/feral dog running in front of their houses. What does it matter if it's you? They cannot yell at the animals or cyber shame the occasional vehicle, so they are choosing to take out their frustrations on you. Maybe they can get out and run too, and this would not be such an issue. Update, ETA, tried to grab all the info questions. So number 1, there are no parks nearby large enough for me to run in. The only one around here is about 1 block and it's surrounded by houses. I passed this park already, there are no trail systems or anything like that either. Number 2, I don't run the exact same path every day, no matter which street I run on, there's inevitably security lights and dogs. I have 5 or 6 different routes I'll take, I don't think it's even the same dogs barking at me on those routes. Number 3, I don't have a car, so I cannot just drive out somewhere else. Number 4, again, I'm not getting a gym membership. My budget does not include that kind of luxury, and the closest affordable gym here is about 6 miles away to begin with. Also, I cannot run later in the morning, I have to be out the door at a certain time to get my full 5 miles in, 5 AM to 6:30. Exercise, warm up and cool down included, 6:30 to 7:30 getting ready, shower, coffee, breakfast, put together lunch or is already made, makeup, hair, getting dressed. If I don't leave for the bus at 7:45, I will not get to work on time. And yeah, Ripe Stars, clearly OP is not the a-hole here. You can go out for a run whenever you want. The neighbors cannot dictate what you do with your life. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.